You and I as the Israelites, have to war within yourselves and against your own fleshly lusts. You have to war with worldly temptation. With all the spiritual energy you can muster, war for the kingdom of Yah.
We aim and shoot scriptural bullets at demon troops. I'm just spitting truth. Look at yourself if it's staying in you. Release yourself when the lies in the doctrine you clinging to. Repenting mean the path that you walk and you see it through. That mean you gotta switch up your people, leaving the crew. That mean you gotta watch what you say and watch what you do. But until you see the truth.
All right, Shalom Israel, what's going on? First, I want to give all praises to the Most High Yah in the name of His Son Yahweh Shai. And the title of today's class is, Do You Trust the U.S. Government? So, a lot of people, they want, they ask for the government, every time something bad happens or every time they having a hard time, they're looking for the government to do something. They're looking for somebody in authority to help them out or give them a handout. And, that hadn't been really working out too well for us over the past, couple of hundred years or so. Let me get Ecclesiasticus 27, 1 through 3.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 27, 1 through 3. Many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeketh for abundance will turn his eyes away.
You see that? So many have sinned for over small things, and if you seeking to gain something, or you might ignore it. So a lot of us, we see the government doing stuff that's not in alignment with scripture and morally right, and we just turn our eye to it because that's the government. That's our employers too. People that they do stuff and we kind of ignore it because that's who write our paychecks. And that's why we got to try to separate from this wicked system. Keep going.
Verse 2. As a nail stick fast between the joining of the stones, so does sin stick close between buying and selling.
You see that? So while you're trying to make money, trying to buy and sell, sin gonna be right there with you. You got to be real careful because it's easy to fall into sin, just for the sake of benefit or the sake of financial gain. Keep going.
Verse 3. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown.
You see that? So we got to lean on the Most High to protect us from sin. We got to read these laws and commandments, understand them, so we can stay out of sin while we go throughout our day. Let me get Jeremiah 17, 5 and 6.
The book of Jeremiah 17, 5 and 6. Thus say the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and make flesh his arm, whose heart departed from the Lord.
You see that? A lot of people, they trusting in the government. They trusting in food stamps, trusting in welfare, trusting in all these benefits, so-called benefits provided by the government. They trust in that more than the Most High. See that? So we gotta you can't do that according to the scripture. We gotta make the Most High. We gotta trust in the Most High. We gotta make Him our strength. Keep going.
For he shall be like the heat in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited.
You see that? And to this day, we've been desolate and destroyed. Spiritually desolate, financially desolate, just desolate in every way because we've been trusting in man. We hadn't put our trust in the Most High. Let me get Proverbs 14 and 31.
The book of Proverbs 14 and 31. He that oppresseth the poor reproach his maker, but he that honor him have mercy on the poor.
You see that? And obviously the government, even they do stuff that make it look like they having mercy on the poor, but we know that's just not true. Because we go get into this article in a second. We go do the numbers behind this and we gonna see. But they don't really care about the poor. Everything is about it's smoke and mirrors, it's public perception. They don't really care about the poor. They oppress the poor. And, they go do things to keep you poor or make you become poor. I say, you just look at all these taxes that we got. You got to be oppressing the poor. And then the middle class, you go make them poor through all these taxes and all these fees. Everything is a tax associated with it. And, you know, like you said, if you look into it, if you look at income tax, for example, you know, I guess what the average person pay around 20-some% income tax. And then you look at like the upper class and the elite, you know, millionaires and billionaires, they hardly pay any taxes because they know how to work the system. And they not go, you know, and they know how to get around paying taxes. You know, they leave loopholes in the tax code just so they can get around that. Let me get Proverbs 19 and 17.
The book of Proverbs 19 and 17. He that have pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which have given will he pay him again.
You see that? So you got to have mercy. If the Most High bless you with substance and you see your brother is poor or need help and he trying to keep the commandments, he trying to do right, help that brother out. And, you know, don't look at it like you lending to the poor. You lending to the Most High. And the Most High go get that right back to you at some point, you know, probably, you know, many fold over. You know, you get to the Most High, he go bless you abundantly. Let me get Ecclesiasticus 13, 15 through 20. But you know, our oppressor, he don't behave that way. He don't have mercy. He's not a kind person, you know, or kind people group, I should say, because it's more than just one person.
Ecclesiasticus 13, 15 through 20. Every beast loveth his light, and every man loveth his neighbor. All flesh consorteth according to kind, and a man will cleave to his light.
You see that? So every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor. And neighbors means brother. And you know, who is your brother? Your fellow Israelite. So that's who we need to show love to. When you know, if you just look at nature, you look at a flock of you look like, you know, you watch Animal Planet and you watching or National Geographic and you see them out there, you know, they might be in Africa and they on the savannah. You always see all the zebras together. You always see all the gazelles together. You see the lions hanging together. They sticking with their kind. You don't see everything mixed up. You know, you don't see the zebras and the lions hanging out together. You know, you don't see the hyenas and the antelope hanging out together. They don't mix. So every man and every beast should be sticking with their own kind. Keep going.
Verse 17. What fellowship have the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly.
You see that? You see that? So take it a step further. We're supposed to be sticking with our own kind spiritually as well. If it's a brother out here, he's sinning or he just going crazy, you're going to have to eventually separate from that brother because he going to devour you just like a wolf go devour a lamb. Keep going.
Verse 18. What agreement is there between the hyena and a dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild
ant. You see that? So just like a common dog and a hyena, they ain't hanging out together. Let your dog hang out with a hyena if he want to. He ain't gonna exist after. And just like the rich have no business hanging out with the poor. You see that? Because the rich man, he go do you in at the end of the day. He go figure out how he can use you to make money, but he's not really your friend 9 times out of 10. Keep going.
Verse 19. As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor.
You see that? So, you know, you leaning on these politicians, you leaning on Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and, you know, all these politicians, you know, even the Democrats, Barack Obama, you know, everybody love Barack Obama, Joe Biden, everybody thinks so highly of these politicians. And at the end of the day, you still end up paying taxes, ridiculous taxes. Your voice isn't heard. And you stay poor and they stay rich. There's no way around it. That's what's been happening. Like I said, history will just keep repeating itself, and it seems like every time an election come up, you hear everybody going crazy. Oh, we need to go and vote for president, and we need to do this. We need to, you know. you invest, and you have some people that'll donate to their campaign. That's all they really want you for, to donate to their campaign, and they want your donation and they want your vote. But at the end of the day, you still go stay at the bottom. They still go stay at the top. Go ahead.
Verse 20. As the proud hate humility, so does the rich abhor the poor.
Oh, read that last part again.
So does the rich abhor the poor.
They do not like you. They look at poor people and they turn their nose up. Man, but we don't. It seems like we don't get that a lot of the time. We don't understand. Let me get this article. The title of this is USA Today, and it's titled, "Are you getting the $2,000 Trump tariff dividend stimulus check in 2025? Wondering about updates on a new $2,000 2025 stimulus checks? On Tuesday, December 2nd, President Donald Trump doubled down on his recent promise of tariff rebate checks for Americans. We're going to be giving a nice dividend to the people," and further alluded to the possibility of eliminating income tax. During a cabinet meeting, Trump said, "Next year is projected to be the largest tax refund season ever, and we're going to be giving back refund checks out of the tariffs as we have taken in literally trillions of dollars." Adding, "We're going to be giving a nice dividend to the people in addition to reducing debt." In early November, the president began floating the idea of issuing a $2,000 dividend to middle-income people and lower-income people from the hundreds of millions of dollars collected in tariff revenues. You see, I just said, he said trillions, and now it's hundreds of millions. You see how they walking it down? This week, Trump also said the tariff revenue could eventually be so great that the government could cease levying income taxes. "I believe that at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay because the money we're taking in is so great, it's so enormous that you're not going to have income tax to pay. Whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really low, much lower than it is now, but you won't be paying income tax." Trump said last month the tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now we're going to do a dividend, and we're also reducing debt we have because of Biden and others. "We have $37 trillion in debt," said Trump. "So we're going to be doing a dividend which people will enjoy and spend and do what they want. But we're also going to be reducing debt very substantially." Budget experts and lawmakers aren't sure, though. See, here we go. So Trump just running his mouth saying stuff. And now the people that's really, in charge of the finances, they like, I don't know. Erica York, a policy expert at the Tax Foundation, said in a post on X, "If the cutoff is $100,000, 150 million adults will qualify for a cost nearly 300 billion. If kids qualify, that grows. Only problem, new tariffs has raised 120 billion so far. As of September 30th, the federal government had generated 195 billion in tariff-related revenue, according to officials, which compared to the possible payout of the dividend check proposal would come up short. Republican Senator Ron Johnson also said in an interview with Fox Business, Mariah Bartiromo, the country can't afford Trump's $2,000 dividend idea. Look, we can't afford it. I wish we were in a position to return the American public their money, but we're not. So basically, they saying they taking your money. We can't afford to give it back. You got to pay more for all this, for all these goods and services. But, too bad. Can't afford it. We'll have at least a $2 trillion deficit this year, Johnson warned. That compares to the prior pandemic. President Trump had deficits about $800 billion. Obama in his last 4 years, $550 billion a year. Now we're $2 trillion, completely unacceptable. We have to start focusing on that and doing something. The Congressional Budget Office last month projected the federal deficit would hit $1.8 trillion for 2025, according to news reports. However, officials note in theory, Trump and his administration could potentially look to make the payout based on anticipated tariff revenue, as the Treasury Department has forecasted $3 trillion in tariff revenue over the next decade. Note that Trump's $2,000 tariff dividend payment is still being floated with no formal proposal and little details thus far. Here's when and what to know about Trump's tariff dividend and who will be eligible for the $2,000 stimulus checks. Trump previously floated the idea of using part of the government revenue being generated by the new tariffs and returning it to taxpayers of a certain income level in the form of rebate checks or similar to stimulus checks. Let me skip down a little bit. All right. The tariff rebate check idea was then introduced in a bill by Senator Josh Hawley called the American Worker Rebate Act of 2025 that would send checks between $600 and $2,400 to American taxpayers. However, it has not yet passed through Congress. In February, Trump also said he would consider the plan to pay out $5,000 stimulus checks to taxpayers in the form of a Doge dividend during a summit in Miami. He explains it as using part of the 20% of the savings identified by Musk's Department of Government Efficiency and giving it back to taxpayers. However, he has not shared any further specifics or details about the Doge dividend or its certainty since then. So you see that? So now we didn't got promised two checks, a potential $5,000 check and a $2,000 check, which we know that they could afford, but you think they really go do that? You know, we might get something with some stipulations, but you know, when you take in all the money that they save by cutting all these people out their jobs, all the money they save by, all the money they didn't collect it off these tariffs that, you know, we the people end up paying for it because it's making our, you know, the price of products go up. You know, our the goods and stuff that we have to buy has gone up substantially in the past few years. And we end up eating that cost. And I can guarantee you, if you go back over the past year, you didn't spend more than $2,000 extra on the same stuff that you would have had to buy last year. You know, if you look at groceries and, you know, all the, you know, wood, if you look at just anything you have to buy that got to get imported over here. I mean, we've been paying a ridiculous price for it. But, you know, now it's, well, we in debt and we don't know if we can afford to do that. Like we ain't been in debt. But, and somehow the government created raked in all this money, but the deficit is bigger this year than it was in previous years. You know, they say it's what 1.5 trillion or whatever. So it's 1.8 trillion. So like much bigger than it was in the years before. But you know, there's Esau for you. They'll float some the idea of something in your face to keep you happy, keep you content, keep you satisfied. But then when it come down to it, probably ain't gonna even cash that bet. Let me get Psalms 58:3.
The book of Psalms 58:3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
You see that? All that. Trump just got up there and lied for no reason. You know, all these people, they lying for no reason. You know, they floating the idea of stimulus check, put it in your face. When nobody even asking about it, but we just go tell you anyway to make you feel good. Then we go lie to you. I say that's Esau for you though. Let me read a little more out of this. I want to get to who would potentially qualify for this. Who would be eligible for Trump's $2,000 tariff dividend? Based on Trump's recent comments about the $2,000 dividend, the income qualifications would exclude high-income people. We're going to issue a dividend to our middle-class people and lower-income people of about $2,000, Trump said on November 10th. We're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. During two prior pandemic stimulus checks, authorized by Trump, they were made available to individuals bringing in as much as $75,000 per year, and couples earning up to $150,000 a year, and higher earners were eligible for smaller payments. So everybody ain't gonna even qualify this. So if you make $75,000 by yourself or have a combined household income of $150,000, you're not gonna be eligible. Or you might get a prorated amount or whatever. So everybody's still not gonna even get this $2,000. The middle class is defined as those earning up to double the median household income, while high income earners can make 10 times that or more. Lower income is often defined as making 150% of the federal poverty level or less. The U.S. Census Bureau reported that the 2024 median household income was $83,730. So just giving that some context. So using Pew's definition of middle class as household that earn between 2/3 and double the median income, the middle class consists of people making between $55,000 and $167,000 in 2024. Those earning less than $55,820 making up the lower income bracket, while those earning more than $167,460 make up the upper income bracket. So you see that they can classify you as middle class, and if you start inching up towards the top of middle class, you still might not even be eligible for this check. So like I said, Esau is the devil. They go lie to you for no reason. And just to get us a little more context, let me get this next article. This is about the Boston Tea Party. So I think y'all know what the Boston Tea Party is, but we go read it anyway. The Boston Tea Party, December 16, 1773, incident in which 342 chests of tea belonging to the British East India Company were thrown from ships into the Boston harbor by American patriots disguised as Mohawk Indians. The Americans were protesting both a tax on tea and the perceived monopoly of the East India Company. So, back in the day, they protested a tax from Britain and threw all the tea in the water because they were basically saying, you're not finna tax us and we not being represented. So tell me, how is the American people, the average American person, being represented by today's politicians? And we paying much more on tax than what this tax was on this tea. I think it was just like a couple of percent, 2 or 3%. And the tax we pay is, like I said, you end up breaking down income tax, the taxes on gas, the sales tax that you pay, the taxes on your property. Almost half your check goes towards taxes. And then we still not being represented or not being taken care of. We still have to worry. And then they just take your stuff if you can't afford to pay the tax. Mess around and not pay the feds their money, you're going to jail. Mess around and not pay your property taxes, you're finna be homeless after a couple of years. We pay all this tax and we still suffering. We still struggling. We still have to worry about how we go to the doctor. We still got to worry about public schools being terrible and teaching garbage to our kids. Like I said, they was ready to riot and destroy everything over a tax on tea. But here we are getting taxed. Like I said, almost half your income is probably taxed. It's just go straight to taxes. Let me get Proverbs 3:31. But that's what happened when you integrate with the devil. You want to be part of the system of the devil.
Proverbs 3:31. Envy not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
You see that? We didn't want to be separate. We wanted to be part of America after a while. we gave up all our independence. We didn't want to lean on the Most High. We wanted to be just like so-called white man. And when we do that, that's what you end up doing. You lose half your money to tax for a system that don't care nothing about you. Let me get 1 Timothy 1:5.
The book of 1 Timothy 1:5. Now the end of the commandment is charity, out of a pure heart and a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned.
You see that? Do you think the government is actually giving out charity with a pure heart? No, they're not. I say everything they give out is like I said, is to make themselves look good and to gain some type of power and control. Like if you look at the history of the Great Depression, that's when they start. That's really when the taxes start getting ridiculous around, to come out of the Great Depression, because they could pass things that they couldn't normally pass. Because like I said, America for the most part had that mindset of, you're not finna just tax us and we go be independent. But the Great Depression was so bad that people just gave up, they independence, so to speak. And Hillary Clinton said that a couple years ago that during the time of crisis, that's the time to try to pass stuff that you couldn't usually get passed. So of course they want, when people suffering, they go try to pass these laws in the guise of we helping. We issuing help, we protecting our people, we looking out for our citizens. But like I said, when you break it down, you getting taxed half your check get taken by taxes, and you still don't have all the things that you need. Something ain't right there. It's like I said, that's that trickery. That's Esau for you. Let me get Jeremiah 17:7-8.
Jeremiah 17:7-8. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope is the Lord's is. For he shall be as a tree planted by waters, and that spreadeth out his roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaves shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit.
You see that? So we were trusting in the Most High. We'll be like a tree planted by water. If you ever look at the trees that line the river, you can look at this on any map. I go to like a hot place and look on a map, like a satellite, and you'll see where some water is. You can see the vegetation just along the edge of the water. It'd be so pretty and green. Everything else might be dry. But that's how we'll be if we trust in the Lord. We'll be strong trees with deep roots that go down in the water and bring forth good fruit. But we trusted in man, and it's like we desolate in the desert, like you said earlier in this same chapter. We leaned on man, we trusted the government, we turned our back on the commandments. We did it in Egypt, we doing it now. It ain't nothing, everything repeat itself. But we just got to do better, Israel. Let me get Proverbs 28:8.
The book of Proverbs 28:8. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor.
You see that? So all this these ridiculous taxes, all this ridiculous interest that you have to pay to the banks when you get loans, we're going to eventually see it back. The Most High, or Yahweh Shai, go come back and take it back and give it back to us, and make the Gentiles go. They go keep bringing it back to us, all the time. But that's because when we get the kingdom, that's what's gonna happen. So let them gather up, let them steal, let them gain by unjust, because it's not gonna be forever. It's only temporary. Let me get Jeremiah 17:11.
Jeremiah 17:11. As the partridge sitteth on eggs and hatch them not, so he that getteth riches and not by right shall lead them in the midst of his days, and his end shall be a fool.
You see that? So I say Esau might be getting over now, You know, he might be rich now, but at the end, he go look like a fool because he go lose all that. Like I say, Howard Shah go come back and redistribute the wealth. And by redistribute, I mean take all of it from them and go bring it to us. You get last one, Isaiah 60, 10 through 12.
The book of Isaiah 60, 10 through 12. And the sons of the strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
You see that? So the sons of strangers, like I said, this government, that counts as sons of strangers, God dog it, shall build their walls. By their walls, will build thy walls. You're talking about the nation of Israel. And their kings shall minister unto thee. By kings, we ain't talking about, you know, the trailer park or the blue collar worker. We talking about the government. You know, we talking about your Donald Trumps, your Joe Bidens, your George Bushes. That's who gonna be serving us in that time. Keep going.
Verse 11. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought.
You see that? So they just gonna be constantly just bringing us riches, constantly bringing us stuff, day and night, continuously. Keep going.
Verse 12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
You see that? And if they do not do it, that's gonna be the end of them. That don't sound like equality to me. That sounds like the Most High setting us on high above all people. So look forward to that and keep fighting for the kingdom. War for the kingdom. Shalom.
You and I as the Israelites, have to war within yourselves and against your own fleshly lusts. You have to war with worldly temptation, with all the spiritual energy you can muster. War for the kingdom of Yah.
We aim and shoot scriptural bullets at demon troops. I'm just spitting truth. Look at yourself if it's staying you. Release yourself when the lies and the doctrine you clinging to. Repenting mean the path that you walk and you see it through. That mean you gotta switch up your people leaving the crew. That mean you gotta watch what you say and watch what you do. But until you see the truth.